What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. Today is the first video of Endometriosis Awareness Month, and I know it sounds like kind of weird to say that I'm excited, but I am excited because I just feel thankful that I get to use my platform to share with all of you about what endometriosis is. There's not enough awareness about it out there. So I'm excited for two reasons today. One is I'm actually doing a giveaway, which I'm super excited about, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. The other thing I'm excited about is I'm actually not alone today. I am going to be joined today by an old friend of mine. So you guys, welcome Mia.
Hi everyone. So glad to be here.
So glad that you were willing to do this. This is awesome. Why don't you go ahead and just like share with everyone a little bit about who you are, what you do, that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Mia Atkins. Hannah and I went to high school together. And I live in Colorado right now. I host a lifestyle TV show live Monday through Friday. It's a lot of fun. I do a lot of cool stuff, but I'm really glad that we're talking about endometriosis today because it's actually impacted my career a lot more than I thought it was going to when I first started working in television. So it's definitely important to talk about because it impacts everything that you do.
Yeah, totally. That's such like a big thing that I don't think people realize is how much it impacts your daily life, no matter whether you're working out or working from home or like what it is, it's always there and always a part of your life. So
it really is. It never lets you forget that it's there.
Yeah. So, like Mia said, we went to middle school and high school together. We grew up together, same friend group. We were in band together. We were in the same youth group together. So obviously life happens, things change, and you just kind of fall apart from each other. But we were reconnected through chronic illness. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I guess that's one of the positives you can take from the situation.
Right, exactly. So that is kind of cool, and I'm really excited that you get to share your story today. So,
me too.
Let's jump right into it. I would love for you to just share like when you were first diagnosed, but then kind of like bring us back to the beginning when your symptoms started and whatever. And I think something I want to just like add really quick is that on average, it takes women about 7 to 10 years to be diagnosed with endometriosis. So like that's a long time, and I know it's a big gap from when you found out to when you first started having symptoms. So
yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and share that with us?
Yeah, so anyone that knows anything about endometriosis, it's pretty much all linked to your period and your cycle. And so when I think back, my endometriosis started from the very first time that I got my period when I was 14, but I wasn't diagnosed until I was 19 and I was in college. And so basically the story of how I got diagnosed was I was at a leadership conference a weekend in college, having a great time, but I just felt really off all weekend, just kind of felt like something wasn't right. And so I get back from the conference and I get back to my dorm room, and it's just the most piercing, stabbing pain in my lower abdomen. And I was like, okay, maybe I just ate something really bad at the conference this weekend, like something's going on. But it just progressively kept getting worse to the point that I had to call one of my best friends and say, listen, I need you to take me to the emergency room. Like, I think I'm, something's happening. Maybe I need my appendix out. I don't know what it is. So I got to the hospital around 11 o'clock at night. I was there until 6 in the morning. And basically they told me I had an ovarian cyst. They said it was about the size of a golf ball. And they said, you're fine. It'll go away. So I called my mom and I was like, I don't know. I don't feel like a golf ball sized ovarian cyst is just something to forget about. So the next day I got in for an emergency appointment with a specialist in Arizona, and they told me, you need to get this thing taken out, because in the 24 hours since I had gone to the emergency room and went to that doctor, it had grown from this big to about this big. And so then my dad drove to Arizona from Illinois, which is a 24-hour drive, let me say, and then drove me all the way back to Illinois and did another 24-hour drive. I laid in the back of the car the whole ride there, writhing in pain. By the time we were halfway through the trip, he had to walk me to the bathroom because I couldn't walk on my own. By the time I got to Illinois and got a new ultrasound, it was the size of a softball. So it just kept growing day by day. So they removed the ovarian cyst, and that was when they also found endometriosis. And that kind of kicked off my journey. I really started with a bang with just a giant growing ovarian cyst that made it to the point that I couldn't even walk.
That's terrible. I mean, and I think people don't realize that that's part of it is, you know, there are some people that don't have symptoms and there are some people that do, and it's debilitating and excruciating, but people don't get that, you know? When you had your first surgery, did they end up doing any sort of like excision or ablation or anything of the endometriosis?
Yeah, so they did take out the endometriosis while they were in there. They did the ablation. And I kind of forgot that I had it, to be honest. Something that I'm going to talk about later is that getting the right doctor is one of the most important things that you can ever do. And this started from my very first doctor, where they took out the cyst and briefly said, hey, you have endometriosis, but it's gone now. We took it out. No big deal. Not the case, because as we're going to discuss, I have had 2 more surgeries since then and had an ovary removed. So clearly it wasn't no big deal, and it wasn't just something they could just take out and wouldn't come back.
Obviously, you said they kind of just said like, oh, you have endometriosis, like casual, nonchalant, no big deal. Like, do you know if that surgeon had any experience or knowledge or anything in like how bad it was or how to take care of it?
Nope, they didn't really give me anything, because, to be honest, when I found out again 3 or 4 years later that I had endometriosis, it was like the first time learning I had endometriosis, and then I realized, oh wait, I was diagnosed with this when I was 19, and they barely gave me any information. They just said, take some birth control regulates your hormones, you'll be fine. We took it out. Keep taking the pill, you'll be all good. Clearly, not the case.
So you said it was a few years later that you had another surgery. What led you to having another surgery or feeling like you needed another one?
Yeah, so again, that first surgery was when I was in college in Arizona. After my 3.5 years of school in Arizona, I moved here to Colorado Springs. And maybe like a year or a year and a half after I'd been living here, I was just feeling all the symptoms of endometriosis that at that time, like I said, they didn't properly diagnose me, so I didn't realize this was my endometriosis, but my periods were becoming unmanageable. I couldn't go to work, I couldn't do anything. The exhaustion of just daily tasks, I mean, I couldn't go to work, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't clean my house. It got to the point where I was getting severe nerve pain down my legs, not even just in my lower abdomen. It was going all the way down my legs. I would feel it on my lower back. I would feel it everywhere. I would get so bloated that I looked, you know, I'm a pretty small girl, and I would look not small. I looked like I was about to pop out a baby any day, and it was just bloat from eating normal things that I had always been eating. And so at that point, I remembered too, because this started back from my first period, and I remembered that I used to have these things happen. They came in waves, but I remembered that it used to happen. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to a doctor. I feel like I've always just had these horrible periods. I don't know what's going on. And they had my medical records transferred over, and she's like, you have endometriosis. I was like, what's that? I have no idea what that is. What are you talking about? She's like, you were diagnosed with this when you were 19. I was like, oh, well, I don't remember that happening, but okay, what do we do? So at that point, we start going through a pretty rigorous system of different birth controls and medications, which was easily one of the worst things that I have ever gone through ever, because if anyone knows anything about birth control, it really messes with your hormones, and it really messes with a lot of things, just the way that you feel in your daily life. And so switching from one to the other over and over and over again takes a toll on your body. And so I think I tried 5 different birth controls during that time. I got the bar injected in my arm. I tried 4 other pills. Nothing really worked. And then I tried the infamous Orlissa, which is something that we should definitely talk about because I don't want any women to go through what I went through with Orlissa. It was awful.
I mean, I personally didn't experience that, but I've heard of other women being on it and how just terrible it is. And if you're open to sharing what you went through with that, I think that so many women would really benefit from it.
Yeah, so you get on Orlissa and there's 2 different dosages, and I tried both because my doctor, again, was not the right doctor. She didn't know what she was doing. She was just blindly putting me on different birth controls and different medications. So she's like, all right, let's start with this lower dose. If it doesn't work, let's try the higher dose, which with how severe my endometriosis clearly was, she should have just put me on the higher dose to begin with. And if we would have known and been able to see in the future, she shouldn't have put me on it at all. So I started with the smaller dose. Didn't really notice any difference. So we went to the high dose, and I apologize, I can't remember what that was, but I basically had to take it once in the morning, once at night, every single day of my life. So I was taking a lot of it, and it was a pretty high dosage. At first, within that first 3 months, I felt incredible. I had never, in the past year that I'd been dealing with my endometriosis, I hadn't ever been able to go on hikes or go exercise or live a normal schedule, be able to make social plans for a week in advance and actually keep up with them because my endometriosis didn't come in and make me miserable. And then after that 3 months was when things kind of took a turn for me. It pretty much at the 3-month mark dropped off and completely stopped working. And not only that, something that people need to know about medicines that really, really pump different hormones into you, it really can mess with your head. And so I have always been a super positive, fun-loving person, always seeing the best in things. And that was when I had my first ever suicidal thought, was when I was on that pill. And that was when I knew this is not okay. I looked it up online, and so many other women like me got on Orlissa, felt amazing for so long, and then it dropped off and they started to have suicidal thoughts from the medication, from the hormones that were in that pill. And since you were taking, and it was always the people that took the high dosage of it too. It was such a high dose of hormones and whatever else that they put into that thing that it messed with my head. And the second that I got off of it, I never had a thought like that again. But it was a really scary thing for me, especially because I've never been the kind of person to think that way. And then to get on a medication that makes me feel like that was terrifying. And I just would never suggest that people go on it. I've heard that it works great for some rare people out there and they don't have any issues with it, but almost every story, including mine, ends in the medication dropping off and not working and making you feel really horrible.
Well, I appreciate you being so open and sharing that, because that's a big deal. Like, even just like the mental health aspect of having endometriosis alone can be a hard thing, but then being put on a medication that makes you suicidal is not okay. Like, that's not okay for anyone. And so I think it's amazing that you're willing to talk about that and share that, because I feel like so many women can be spared from getting on it and then going through the same thing you did.
I think one of the most important things with endometriosis and pretty much any, chronic illness that people deal with is just being open and talking about it, because I've had women who have come to me since I've been open about endometriosis and thank me for being so open about my symptoms and what I've gone through, and they finally got diagnosed with endometriosis because they recognized those symptoms. And so it's always just best to be open about it, even if it's uncomfortable sometimes, because you could really save someone a lot of pain and hurt through doing that.
Totally. I have experienced the same thing, and it's just, it's so important. And that's why I love that we're doing this, because I think it's really gonna help a lot of people. So you were on this terrible drug, Orlissa, and then that was leading up to your second surgery. So what happened with that?
Basically, at this point, we had tried everything. She really did not want to do this surgery. And so she wanted to try me on every medication possible before we did the surgery. And so finally, I got to the point where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep messing with my hormones and messing with my life by trying all this stuff. Like, is there a surgery we can do? Can you get it out? She was like, okay, sure, we'll do the surgery. So this was in May of 2019. I went in and got my second endometriosis surgery. Kind of felt like my first, because the first time I didn't even realize that that's what it was, but this was my second surgery for endometriosis, and she went in and she said, yeah, it really wasn't that bad, actually. You know, there was a little bit of endometriosis on your right ovary. She was like, there was a little bit on your uterus. And for people who don't know, the endometriosis kind of like grows like a sticky substance that basically just sticks to supposedly just your ovaries and uterus area. And that's where she said mine was. And I was like, cool. Felt a lot worse than that, but that sounds good to me. And so I was super excited. I was like, all right, I thought this was going to be a lot worse. I'm so happy that she got rid of this. You know, I go through my 2 weeks of recovery. I'm feeling good. 3 weeks go by. I'm like, yes, this is how I'm supposed to feel. I'm so excited. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't okay anymore. And it all came back. And then it got worse than what it was the first time. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I thought it wasn't that bad. I thought you got it all out. At this point, I did a little bit of research and realized I needed to see an endometriosis specialist, because the gynecologist that I was seeing at that time was just a general gynecologist. She actually specialized in, babies and giving birth and all of that stuff, which was not what I needed at all. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go and see this endometriosis specialist. So let me just say to ladies out there too that sometimes feel like maybe they don't want to see a male gynecologist, don't always count it out, because I ended up going to a male gynecologist who was an endometriosis specialist, and he was one of the sweetest, most caring men I've ever met, and he actually took it seriously and knew what he was talking about, and is the best doctor I've ever had. So I know it can be uncomfortable and it feels weird sometimes, but don't always count them out, because they might be your best option sometimes, and for me it was. So I went and saw him, and immediately he did an exam on me. He talked me through my symptoms, and he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but I think you need another surgery. I think I need to go in, and I think I might need to take your right ovary out. And I was like, whoa. I just had surgery like 2 months ago, and she said that I just had a little bit of endometriosis sticking to my ovary and my uterus. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I'm looking at the x-rays she took before, and to me, it looks like your right ovary is hidden into your organs and is pushed down and isn't even functioning properly because it is stuck. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I guess if that's what you're saying and what you see, then let's do it. And so in November of 2019, the same year that I had just gotten the other surgery, I had to once again go in for surgery. Again, can't stress enough to find the right doctor from the beginning. If you get an endometriosis diagnosis, find a specialist so you don't have to get 2 surgeries within 6 months of each other. It's not fun. So I did. I went and got the surgery. For some reason, I went into that surgery just hopeful that he wouldn't need to take my right ovary out. I was like, maybe it's going to be fine, and he saw it wrong. That was the furthest thing from the case. He showed me pictures afterwards, and in the pictures, you could barely even see my right ovary because it had so much endometriosis grown on it that it was, usually about this big, and it was about like this big on the picture because it was so covered in endometriosis. My uterus was completely lined in it. Not only that, endometriosis typically stays in that area, but I had endometriosis growing on my nerves. It was growing on my bowel. It was growing on my bladder. It was on my appendix. So pretty much every organ or nerve or anything in that right side of my body had it on it. And it had a lot of it on it. And I had just had surgery 6 months before that, and she didn't catch any of that. It blows my mind. Like, how do you do that? How do you miss that much?
Right. Well, and that's like you said, it's so important to find a specialist because to an untrained eye, it may look like nothing. It could look like absolutely nothing. They're like, oh, you're fine. It's all good. But obviously, you had very extensive disease in your body that was causing you a lot of pain and issues. And there's a few different resources that I think would be helpful for a lot of people to know about being able to find a specialist. If you are on Facebook, there's a group called Nancy's Nook Endometriosis Education, and you can go on there and they actually have like a file that's just like a list of international specialists, and you can find them based on your location. I mean, a lot of people do have to travel when it comes to finding a specialist. I don't know how close your specialist was to you, but I think that's fairly typical. I think we both can't stress enough how important it is to find a specialist, whether you have to travel. I mean, I've heard there's someone I follow on Instagram that lives in Australia, and she came to America because she had read such great reviews about this doctor, and she was in debilitating pain every single day. So like, do your research and find someone that's actually gonna take care of you, because otherwise you'll be going through this forever, and that's not good for anyone.
I'll give a shout out to my doctor. I was so lucky and found him right here in Colorado Springs, so I only had to travel 10 minutes
That's
to get
amazing.
to my doctor, which, like Hannah said, that is not something that regularly happens. A lot of people end up traveling, but Dr. Stringfellow at Advanced Gynecology here in Colorado Springs is a great option if anyone lives in this area. He knows what he's doing, and he does everything to make sure that you do not have to keep getting the same surgery over and over again.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you shared that, because there probably are people that could really benefit from that. So you had your third surgery, and the outcome was not what you hoped. You had a lot of endometriosis, and they ended up removing your ovary. What was that like physically and mentally after the fact for you?
It was definitely a weird feeling to know that I had lost one of my ovaries. I mean, you need your ovaries to have kids, and that's kind of a weird thing to think about, that I lost one of those. But I went back and I had my follow-up appointment with my doctor, and he told me that my right ovary was in such horrible, horrible shape that I was actually increasing my fertility by removing it. And how that worked was, now that my right ovary is gone, every month when you ovulate, you pull eggs from one or the other. So usually it alternates to left and then right every month. But now, every month, mine will get pulled from my left ovary only, because I don't have a right ovary. And so he said, every time you're ovulating now, you will be pulling from that left ovary, and your chances are so much better. You would have had every other month, whenever you were trying to get pregnant, you would have had that month, you had no possibility of having a child, because that was a dead ovary, essentially. That thing didn't even exist anymore, essentially, because it was so ruined by endometriosis. And so, now it was really hard for me to wrap my head around, but now I feel like I'm in a great place with it. Not that I'm trying to have kids anytime soon, but now it makes it so that I can wait until I'm ready to have kids, because something else that you deal with endometriosis is infertility. Many women struggle with that. And now my chances are better because I have removed that part of me that was causing infertility. And so now I'm in a lot better shape. And it's been, like a year and a half now since I got that surgery. And, I have a minor bump in the road every here and there, but I feel great. And it was successful, and I'm hoping that it lasts, but again, with endometriosis, you always have to be ready for it to come back, because that's what it does, unfortunately. We wish that it wouldn't, but it always does come back. But I feel hopeful that if it does come back, it won't come back as bad, and I might not need more surgeries, because the problem has been removed.
Yeah, that's great. Now that things are, or at least have been better for you, what are you doing in terms of like any sort of, like, are you on birth control? Are you doing anything different with your diet? Like, it's obviously so different for everybody, but what has been working for you when it comes to like taking care of your body?
So after I got the third surgery, had the ovary removed, I decided it was time to actually take things seriously and do a couple things on my own to reduce inflammation in my body, because a lot of endometriosis is caused by inflammation, and there's a lot of things that you can do to reduce that inflammation and make it possible so you don't have to get surgeries over and over again. And so I went on a gluten and dairy-free diet, mostly cut out soy too. I didn't really have much soy in my diet to begin with. And then I'm supposed to cut out sugars too, but haven't gotten around to that one yet. So it's definitely a tough one, but I'm gonna try and do that eventually. But basically, I saw a nutrition, and she told me the best things I could do was to cut out gluten, dairy, soy, and sugars. And since I have started working towards doing that, it really has made such a big difference for me. At the beginning it was pretty hard, and I fell off a lot because it's hard to find things when you're not used to not eating dairy and gluten. It's really hard to find things that you actually like, and you have to actually like kind of get used to the different taste of things, because when you eat vegan cheese but you are used to eating regular cheese, it tastes absolutely disgusting. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. It doesn't taste good at first, but now, after over a year of being on this diet, it's amazing. And I eat vegan cheese and gluten-free pizzas and mac and cheese, and it's all in my diet, and it's great, but you just have to get used to those things at first. But it really has made a big difference in my inflammation. I haven't really had any issues with endometriosis since I've done it. And, when I do cheat on the diet and eat something that I'm not supposed to, I feel the effects of it for pretty much like a week afterwards. I ate pizza earlier this week, and I still feel horrible, and I'm still bloated from it. And so it really is important to do. And so that, combined with I take Nortrel birth control every single day, and that's really helpful. I'm considering going back to the implant in my arm, because I did that for a while, and that was actually my favorite one that I did use, but I thought in the moment that it wasn't working, but that was just because my endometriosis was so bad that the only thing that could help was surgery. And so between the Nortrel and the implant, those are my favorite things that I have been on for birth control, but also just doing the diet with it is so important. And there's a lot of great companies that make amazing gluten-free snacks and vegan cheeses and all kinds of things, so you just have to look and maybe be willing to spend just a little bit extra on that so you can get the stuff that's going to work with your body.
Exactly. It can be more expensive, but at the same time you're taking care of your body and doing what's going to feel best for it. So I think it's worth it personally, in my opinion.
It's definitely worth it. I am never going back. It's worth the extra money. I'd rather sacrifice a couple other things in life so I don't have to feel horrible all the time.
Exactly. I totally agree. Okay, so this is kind of like a deeper question, but like, what is something that you wish that teenage Mia had known back in the day that like would be something who's maybe struggling with what you struggled with, or what anyone with endometriosis struggles with? What is something that you would want teenage Mia or someone else to know?
There's a lot of things, honestly, that I wish I had known. One of them, we've mentioned it quite a few times, but find the right doctor from the beginning. You'll save yourself money, you'll save yourself time, save yourself mental health, all of that. Just finding the right doctor as soon as you get that diagnosis is really important. I wish I had known about the diet from the beginning and how much better that would make my life. Just knowing that cutting out some things that I feel like I can't live without is actually going to make my quality of life that much better. But the biggest thing was I wish I had known and been prepared for how hard it really was going to be, because people also just have a weird perception around endometriosis, and, you just have bad periods, just deal with it. It's just PMS, whatever. It's not just bad periods, and that's something that I want all young women and people who feel like endometriosis might be something that they're dealing with. Bad periods, horrible deliberating periods where you can't go to school, you can't go to work, you can't do your normal activities. That is not normal. That's not what a period is supposed to be like. And for me, I was having period symptoms even outside of my period. And so my period would be gone, and even in between those, I would be having horrible cramps, going home from work early because I was in so much pain, having to leave my workouts early because I couldn't, squat because bending that way was so painful. And it's just, I wish I had known that it was going to be so hard mentally and physically. And so just know that's not normal, but it's going to be hard and you're going to get through it, but you need to find the right doctor and you need to start taking steps right away to make sure that, it's not as bad as, I've had it and maybe you've had it too, and a lot of other women have had it. There's ways to make it easier.
So this kind of brings us to the end of our interview here. Do you have any other thoughts, tips, anything that you want to share to anybody?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of weird endometriosis symptoms. There's so many different things that go into it. So do your research. If anyone wants to, reach out to me on social media or anything, I am so open to talking about my endometriosis and everything that I deal with it. Some of the things are weird and nobody wants to talk about them out loud because, you don't want people to know that you're dealing with that. But I'm an open book, so anyone, you can use me as a resource. I'm always willing to talk to people and help people out with it because, like I said, I've had a really rough go of things with endometriosis, and if I can help anyone expedite their process and make things easier on them, I'm always happy to do that.
Well, that's awesome. I will definitely leave Mia's information also down in the description below so you can find her on Instagram. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk about this and share your journey and where you're at right now. I think that there's obviously not enough on this topic out there, and it's great to be able to just put more information out there and for people to be able to hear it firsthand from people who have been through it. I mean, obviously there are doctors out there who know what they're doing or are gynecologists or whatever, but they maybe haven't experienced it firsthand, and I think that's where it gets hard for people to just go to a doctor and hear about it. So I just really appreciate you sharing your story and being willing to be vulnerable and open and just talk about it all.
Thank you for having me, and I'm always willing to talk about it.
So I don't know about you guys, but I really thought that was just really awesome and cool to hear Mia's story with endometriosis. I'm thankful for her to being willing to share her story, and I would love for you guys to leave her some love in the comments below. That would just be so awesome. All right, you guys, I have repositioned myself because the light in my apartment is changing like crazy, but I want to share with you guys this giveaway. I'm super excited. Both of these brands that are part of this giveaway are brands that I truly love and believe in, and they're both brands that for me have relation to endometriosis, which is really cool, but I think a lot of people will really enjoy both products whether or not you have endometriosis. The first couple of products in the giveaway are both from AWARECAUSES, the first one being a yellow endometriosis awareness pin, and the second is a yellow AWARECAUSES pop socket. So two really simple yet awesome ways to raise awareness for endometriosis and kind of have a conversation starter. So those are both really awesome, super excited about those. And then also, like I mentioned, all these products have some sort of relation to endometriosis to me. So the other product in this giveaway is a Sweet Laurel cookbook, and I'm so excited about this. This has absolutely changed the game for me in being able to enjoy sweet treats and baked goods. I eat paleo to keep the inflammation down in my body, and all of these recipes are paleo. And it's just really cool to know that I can enjoy every single one of these recipes and my body won't be mad at me for it. So super excited about this. I love the recipes in this book, and I'm so excited that one of you will get to experience them as well through this giveaway. So let me share with you guys how to enter into the giveaway. So you need to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me, Mia, Aware Causes, and Sweet Laurel Bakery all on Instagram. I'll leave all of the links to our Instagrams down in the description below, so it's super easy for you. And then the last thing is to share this video or my endometriosis story video or my video that I made on what endometriosis is. I'll leave links for all of those in the description down below too. But share one of those 3 videos on your Facebook, your Twitter, email, text, DM, anywhere. Get the videos out to raise awareness for endometriosis. And then take a screenshot of wherever you've shared it and send me a DM. And that will be the final step for you to enter this giveaway. And that will be how I will be able to contact you if you are selected to win these items. So I'm super excited that, you know, these brands have partnered with me and they donated these products to help raise awareness for endometriosis, and that means so much to me, and I am so thankful for that. The giveaway will be running from March 5th, which is the day that this video goes up, until March 12th, which is a week later. You have until 11:59 Pacific Standard Time on March 12th to get your entries in, and then I will be picking a winner a few days after that. So I'm just so excited about this. It's just so fun that I get to give back to the people who watch my videos, and I also get to raise awareness for something that has made a huge impact on my life. I'm so appreciative of you guys for watching this video. It really means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to Mia. Like I said, leave her some love in the comments below. That would be so awesome. If you guys haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.